Happy Sunday, Yele Nation. I know you guys missed me last week. I missed you too. Don't worry, we're missing each other. So I got a request to show how to put the collar on the kimono and how to make an obi belt from a very precious subscriber that I really like. So today I'm going to show how to place the collar on the kimono and make an obi belt. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm measuring all around from the bottom to the top of my kimono frontage, like the open part of it. I measured from the top to the bottom, around it, the neckline and everything, and I add a total of 120 inches. And then I'm going to cut it out using this black fabric. Now this black fabric love lint a lot. Like the lint and the black fabric, they're like 5 and 6. So I have to remove the lint on the black fabric, and I didn't have my lint roller. So I took a paper tape, rolled it on my hand like this, and I turned my hand to a lint roller. So that is a hint for you. If you don't have a lint roller, you can just use paper tape or sellotape to remove all the lints on your black fabric. Now after doing that, I'm going to cut out 120 inches length of fabric from this black fabric. Now I need to cut it twice because I don't have the entire length at once. So I'm going to first of all cut out 30 inches on fold, which will be 60 inches, and then I'm going to cut that out twice to make a total of 120 inches. And the width that I'm using is about 4 inches. So I'm using 3.5 inches. So that's 3 inches plus extra 0.5 inches for seam allowance. So that is the total width that I'm cutting, and I'm cutting it by 120 inches. So my entire fabric width is going to be 6 inches, but when folded into two, it will be 3 inches, and the entire length round about the neckline and the length of the kimono is going to be 120 inches, and that is what I am cutting out right now. So after cutting out my collar straps, the next thing that I'm going to do is to shape them in such a way that there is room on my neck area to breathe, while the collar is resting on my neck. So what I'm going to do is I am going to trace it out with my chalk. You see, I'm going to draw like a curved C. So at the top I took about 0.75 inches. Now I'm going to slope it down to the middle. The middle was about 0.5 inches thereabout, and I'm going to slope it down to the bottom, which is another 0.75 inches. You see the way the curve goes like that. So the reason why I did that, as I mentioned before, is so that it lays comfortably on my back area. After doing that, I sewed my pieces together, with the curve, and then I'm going to just fold it into two like this, and then I am going to then sew it on my kimono jacket. So what I'm going to do is to find the middle part of the neck collar of the jacket. I'm going to notch it, so I make sure that that the middle of my collar is going to land exactly on the middle of my back neckline. So I'm going to put both of them together like so, and then I'm going to pin it together. I'm going to sew from the middle of the neckline down to the bottom of the kimono on one side, and I'm going to repeat it for the other side. This is because I want to make sure that both sides have equal amount of collar strip, not that one side will be long and then at the end of the day I have to start trying to manipulate and doctor it. So that is a tip that I will give you, to make sure you start from the middle downwards and the other middle downwards. So after sewing this, I have this you see that is looking so nice and so beautiful. So this is the collar. You see the way the neckline goes. The neckline is resting very well at the collar is resting very well at the neckline, and everything is looking good, so pretty, so nice. Now we're going to move to making the obi belt of the kimono. Who is excited? I'm excited. Now let's do this. Yay! Okay, that's enough shouting. So what I'm going to need right now is to take my fabric. I'm going to fold it into two like you're seeing me do now. Now what I need is the circumference of my waist area. Then I'm going to subtract about 2 inches from it. Now the circumference that I'm using is 34. I subtracted 2 from it, so I'm going to use a total of 32 inches. Now I folded it into two like the way you're seeing me do. So that means if I'm using 32 inches, I just need 16 inches on fold, right? 16 inches on fold. and then I'm folding it again into two, like you're seeing me do, because I need 2 pieces of it. So I folded it first, and then I folded it vertically, and then I'm folding it horizontally. What the English should not be a bother. You just saw the way I folded it, folded it once like that, and then I'm going to fold it again on top of each other like so. And then I'm going to cut out my 16 inches like a regular rectangle, and then we're going to move on from there. Now the width of the obi belt is going to be 7 inches. I'm using 7 inches because we're going to take 0.5 upward and 0.5 downwards when we sew for our seam allowance. Now after cutting it out, the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take my tape roll, and on one edge I'm going to find the middle point of my fabric. I don't know why my tape roll keeps falling down, whether they send it from my village. Please tape roll, want yourself. Now from that middle point, I'm going to go down by about 2 inches on either side of the tape roll, because I want my belt to be about 4 inches wide. Really, I want it to be 3.5 inches wide, but I'm going to take extra 0.5 for seam allowance. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to make sure that I take 2 inches from the top of the from the middle point upward, and another 2 inches from the middle point downward. Or another way to solve this mathematics is to just take 1.5 inches from the top of your fabric, like the way I'm showing you, another 1.5 again from the bottom of your fabric, and that is another way to solve this mathematics problem that we are facing. So now from that point that I marked, I'm going to then slide a nice curve down from there to about 10 inches from the middle of my fabric. Like, I didn't really calculate it, but let's just say 8 inches from the edge of my fabric, and then I'm going to cut it and slide it all the way down. And you want the slide at the top to be, at least look alike like the slide at the bottom. They should be like identical twins or something like that. So now after doing that, I'm going to open up my obi belt. You see the curve and the the angle and all of that. Now normally you put stay on your obi belt, put stay on this part and put stay on the belt itself, but I'm not putting stay because first of all this fabric is very thick, and second of all the fabric is stretchy, and I want it to retain its stretch. I don't want to take away from the stretch, and I want it to stretch very nicely around the body. Now there's lint on this part again. I remove the lint. After removing the lint, I'm going to cut out my belt. Remember that the belt that I'm using is 4 inches wide, because I'm going to remove 0.5 inches for stitching, so the belt itself is about 3 inches and 3.5 inches wide. Now after cutting my belt, I have all my pieces put together. Now the next, I have the wide piece that is going to be the front of the belt. I have the 2 other parts that are going to be ties of the belt, and then I'm going to fold the belt, the tie part of the belt, and sew it at one edge all the way to the end of the edge. I'm going to repeat that for both sides, and then on the big part I'm going to sew both the upper part and the lower part of the obi, the main obi belt part of the fabric. You get what I'm saying? So now I'm going to take the serger or the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew it. Take all the pieces, don't forget. So after taking all the pieces, I'm going to notch the curvy part, because when I turn it inside out, I don't want that curvy part to give me headache. So you don't want the curvy part to give you headache either. So just notch the curvy part so that when it comes out, it lays flat and nice and sweet and chum chum and pretty. And then after turning this inside out, I'm going to take it to my iron, my makeshift iron. Don't mind me, I don't really have an ironing board because I don't really have space to put in my ironing board. I'm looking up to God for a bigger studio. Keep praying for me, my people. Pray for me. So after that, I'm going to just turn out all the pieces of my belt. I'm going to iron them with my makeshift ironing board, and everything is laying flat and nice. Now at the edge of the main obi belt, I folded it inside a little bit. You see the way I folded it inside a little bit, so that I can easily chook my rope inside the belt part neatly and nicely. So the fold inside is about 0.5 inches, and then on the other side also, I also ironed that and folded it off camera. So now you can see the way I choked the belt inside, and I'm going to stitch both sides of the belt, and my obi belt is ready for the fashion. Who they breathe? Who is breathing? Who is breathing with the way this beautiful kimono is beautifying the beauty of your camera? The kimono is looking so beautiful. I put in the obi belt. I turn it around. See how it be. Oh yeah, I love it. So if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share with your friends and your family, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.